It's no secret that Netflix as a service was the beginning of the end for cable television. With a culture that's become more and more isolated, we've seen services like Netflix continue to grow, so much so that it's slowly becoming ingrained in our culture. Netflix has grown rapidly, and as their members increase, the need to continue to add more and more content keeps increasing. Throughout the years, Netflix has had a great amount of bangers. The problem is that the good content is usually buried by a sea of what I like to call polished turds. And that, of course, leads me to today's movie, The Royal Treatment. As I scrolled through Netflix, I saw the thumbnail and the first thing that came to mind was, wait a minute, isn't that the girl from Disney Channel's hit show Austin and Ally? A quick Google search later and I was able to confirm my suspicion. The Royal Treatment follows Laura Marano's character Izzy as shit just happens around her. I say this because her character is probably the most passive and static protagonist I've seen in a while. For starters, the barbershop she works at catches fire, and she makes a decision to use her travel funds to pay off the property manager who is illegally extorting them. I guess we're supposed to feel sad for her, but this quite literally happens when the movie starts, so I'm sorry that I find it hard to feel bad for a character I just met. Later on, the royal family of a fictitious country named Lavinia mistakenly reaches out to the salon where Izzy worked, and Izzy ends up having to cut the hair of the crown prince. Now, why the hell would a family in a probably European country reach out to a hairstylist in the US is beyond me. Maida Massoud's character, Prince Thomas, or as he likes to say,
I'm just Thomas, Tommy.
Gets along really well with Izzy until they get into this argument after Thomas allows his aide to mistreat one of the service ladies. Thomas apologizes to Izzy, she finishes cutting his hair, and they hang out for a while before they go on their own way. The following day, Izzy receives a letter from the royal family. She opens it up to find that it's a royal invitation to suck on these nuts!
Got him! Got him!
Okay, sorry. The letter was just a request for Izzy to cut the bride's hair at Prince Thomas's wedding. They end up traveling to Lavinia, and who would have expected it, but Izzy and Thomas fall in love, and the bride is okay with it, and they break the wedding off, and yay, everybody wins. Look, the movie's a disaster, so I'll try my best to break down the biggest issues that I have with it. For starters, I really don't like Izzy as a character. She doesn't really have any initiative, with the exception of this one part in the end where she gets some donations for the school. Additionally, she doesn't really grow and remains completely stagnant throughout the film. She's quite literally made out to be like perfect. So much so that she inspires the spoiled Prince Thomas to change. Thomas, on the other hand, seems much more like a main character. He does have his flaws, but he continues to grow throughout the movie to the point where I can say that by the end, his biggest flaws are that he smiles with his teeth and runs like a duck. I really like Thomas. I wish he would have been the main character. He has more of a protagonist vibe, while Izzy feels more like a DLC character with too much screen time. I think if they had made Izzy a little bit more flawed and made it so that the two inspired each other to change, it would have made the movie a lot more interesting. Now, despite the stereotypical co-workers, I felt like the accents in this movie were kind of all over the place. Lavinia is, I guess, in Europe, I think, but for some reason, everyone there speaks English. And unfortunately, that's not even the bad part. The residents of Lavinia at points will either have an American, English, or Australian accent. Why? I don't know. Characters will also sometimes just break their accent. The biggest offenders of this were Laura Marano herself and Phoenix Connolly, who plays Prince Thomas's bride-to-be, Lauren. I definitely don't blame them because I do get this feeling that they were only given a couple shots for each scene, but they would just kind of like lose their accent in the middle of the sentences. And sometimes Phoenix would just say a whole sentence completely accentless, and out of nowhere you just get a randomly accented word.
Well, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing.
It kind of sounds like that scene in Friends where Ross does a poor job at phasing out his fake English accent.
So without retesting their results in the laboratory, the team would never have identified.
Also, the actress Sonia Gray does a really bad French accent in this movie. It's very noticeable, so I did want to point it out.
You think you know hair.
Look, I knew going into this movie that it was gonna suck. Fortunately, I had the brilliant idea of inviting my girlfriend to watch it with me. We had a good time by pausing every now and then and making jokes at the expense of the movie. That being said, I'm gonna have to give this one an A. Look, I know I'm definitely not in the demographic for this movie, but I can in good consciousness recommend it. Now, if you choose to ignore me, I recommend that you at least watch it with someone else and just kind of make fun of all the nonsense that happens throughout the film. You can stream The Royal Treatment on Netflix. That being said, do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to hear me say more? Let me know down in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. This has been Subtly Artistic. Peace out.